One of the biggest lies in leadership is this: I've delegated it. Most leaders haven't. They've delegated activity while quietly keeping ownership. Because ownership isn't something you ask for. Ownership is something you design. And that's the foundation of what we do here. We don't focus on tactics. We focus on leadership design. Welcome to the High Impact Leader Podcast, a leadership podcast for business owners and leaders who want self-managing teams, stronger accountability, and scalable performance without carrying everything themselves. If you're ready to focus on leadership design, not just effort, you're in the right place. G'day, I'm Brendan Rogers, and today we're naming a pattern that keeps leaders stuck in firefighter mode, and it's called the delegation trap. As a leader, you might say, I delegated the marketing to Sarah, but what you actually did was assign her a list of tasks. Post 3 times this week, update the website, send the newsletter. And here's the difference. Sarah can complete every single task on that list, and you can still end up doing the real work. Why? Because you assigned tasks. You didn't delegate ownership. Task delegation sounds like, do this specific thing, this specific way, by this specific time. Ownership delegation sounds like, this outcome is yours, figure out the best way to achieve it. And most leaders only do the first one. They assign work, but hold on to the mental ownership. The team member completes the task, but doesn't take responsibility for the result. When something goes wrong, the leader jumps back in. And here's the pattern most leaders miss. Leaders say they want ownership while constantly behaving in ways that make ownership impossible. They say things like, I'll just check it. I'll approve it. Copy me in. Run it past me. I'll fix it. Let me rewrite it. Those 6 behaviours are the pattern. They're invisible to leaders because they feel like caring, but they quietly teach ownership isn't really yours. The leader will eventually take it back. And people naturally repeat the behaviours leadership reinforces. So they stop owning and they start escalating. And this is why you can't scale. Your brain is still the bottleneck for every decision, every outcome, and every problem. You've assigned tasks. You've not built a team. And why does this even matter? Well, when you delegate tasks without ownership, 3 things happen. First, you stay as the bottleneck. The work flows through you, assigning, checking, following up, fixing, redoing. You might not be doing the hands-on work anymore, but you're still holding the mental load of everything. Second, your team never develops. Task-delegated team members learn to wait for instructions. They learn that their job is to execute what they're told, not to think about outcomes. You end up with a team of excellent executors who never become leaders themselves. And this directly impacts team engagement because when people don't own outcomes, they don't invest emotionally in the results. And third, you create learned helplessness. Every time you rescue someone, you unintentionally teach them, ownership isn't really mine. They'll eventually take it back. They stop owning and they start escalating. Most leaders don't become bottlenecks because they're controlling. They become bottlenecks because they're caring. They want to help. They want quality. They want to protect people. But over time, that protection quietly becomes dependence. One question to ask yourself: if your entire team disappeared tomorrow, what percentage of your workload would disappear with them? And what percentage would stay sitting in your own head? If the answer is most of it, you haven't built a team. You've built a dependency. So let's look at a framework that will give you a solution on how to actually delegate ownership. Now, I've coached hundreds of leaders through exactly this transition. Almost every single one of them began believing their team was the problem. Very few finished there. The system was always the culprit. Now, here's the 5-step framework I use with clients to move from task assignment to ownership design. First step is clarity. You can't hold people accountable for unclear expectations. Before anyone can own an outcome, they need 3 things: exactly what success looks like, the boundaries of their authority, and what consequences flow from results. Without clarity, you're not holding people accountable. You're just expressing frustration. Most delegation sounds like this. I need you to post on LinkedIn 3 times this week. Use these hashtags and make sure the graphics look professional. That's a task list. It's not delegation. Ownership delegation sounds like this. Our goal this quarter is to generate 50 new leads from LinkedIn. I want you to own the LinkedIn strategy. You're defining success, not steps. You're giving them a destination and not directions. The second part of the framework is authority. You can't delegate ownership without authority. If your team member is supposed to own the outcome but needs your approval for every decision, they're not owning anything. They're just executing your micro instructions. Real authority means they make decisions. They live with the consequences and they get credit for the wins. The third part, natural consequences. And this is the hardest step. When your team member messes up, your instinct is to jump in and fix it. You have to resist that urge. Let them experience the impact of their decisions. If the LinkedIn posts don't generate leads, let them see that. If the client presentation falls flat, let them debrief it. Natural consequences teach more than any training program. The fourth step, replace rescuing with coaching. Every rescue is a missed coaching opportunity. When they come to you with a problem, ask, what do you think you should do? Not because you don't care, but because you're building their judgment. And the fifth and final step, decision space. Create room for them to make choices. The system produces exactly what it was designed to produce. Now let's look at a couple of objections that I often hear. The first one is, my team isn't ready. Well, maybe they aren't ready, but ask yourself, are they not ready or have they never been allowed to become ready? And the second objection, it takes longer. Yes, coaching always takes longer today, but rescuing costs you every day after that. Now, if any of this feels uncomfortable, if you're thinking, but I need to check, or they'll make mistakes, that is completely normal. The behaviours we've discussed feel like caring. They feel like protecting quality. You've never been taught to see them as the system itself. That's exactly what we're fixing today. Now, here's a practical application you can use to see how things are going, and you can call it the vacation test. Here's how you know if you've actually delegated ownership. Ask yourself this one question. Can my team member make decisions while I'm on holiday? If the answer is no, you haven't delegated. You've assigned tasks. And here's something for you to ponder on. Which of these 6 behaviours, checking, approving, copying in, running past, fixing, rewriting, are you quietly continuing to do? Because the system produces exactly what it was designed to produce. So here's something to consider. Most leaders believe delegation reduces their workload, and it doesn't. Bad delegation increases it. Good delegation changes the kind of work that you do, from doing the work to designing the work. And that's not less work, that's better work. Your goal isn't to build people who need you less. It's to build people who need themselves more, because leadership isn't measured by how much you control. It's measured by how much ownership exists when you're not there. That's not effort. That's design. That's leadership by design. Now that's it for today. Thanks for listening to the High Impact Leader podcast. I'm Brendan Rogers. And until next time, design your leadership, build your team, lead with impact.